The classes in D&D are at the very core of many people's adoration and hatred of the game. You have people getting rich off making whole YouTube Shorts channels surrounding D&D classes and their personalities that they made up, subclasses, builds, and all to try and figure out how to have the best fun with what we have. Because the classes in D&D try to execute on a specific fantasy, and not to let you play literally anything that you want. Go play GURPS or basic role-playing if you want literally anything. And a 3-hour character creation process. Hey man, are you coming to the session -1? What's a session -1? It's like a session 0, but we need to do it in order to understand the actual session 0. But to try and help us along, give us more options, we have subclasses. Except subclasses fit onto a specific class to execute a specific fantasy. Or do they? That's right, today we're talking subclasses and smushing them onto other classes. I went through every class and checked the subclasses and set some ground rules for myself. First of all, I'm aware that you can't just take any subclass and smush it onto another class and it'll be absolutely fine. I mean, balancing be damned. And leveling makes things strange. For example, the fighter levels up completely differently to the wizard. These damn fighters with their frequent subclass abilities making them more interesting than cardboard on croûte. Or British food in general. But the main thing that I looked out for is to check if the subclass makes reference to a class ability, because if that happens, and it makes reference to a thing in that class, then it's not going to really work on another class without doing something weird with it. And if this video, this concept, it all sounds weird, then welcome aboard. This is meant to be just a fun exploration. But, based on what I found, I'm actually considering making subclasses from other classes for other classes that you could actually play. Let me know if you'd like to see that. This video isn't exploring what can. No. This is Dungeon Bits. Like the best sci-fi, we're going to talk about what if. Hey bud, quick question. Do you like sand? For me personally, I think the taste is okay, but the crunch is not my thing. Well, if you like full throttle, epic settings filled with great art and great mechanics, and there so happens to be sand, then come along to the Scorched Basin! The Scorched Basin is a Mad Max and Dune-inspired setting created by the homie and the dude, and over 100 creators, including me. I happen to voice a member of one of the best factions, of course, the Riders! And I happen to be the legendary bastard that named the big bad wormy boy himself, Megalodoon! My little Megalodoon. One day we'll meet again, my sweet, and I'll take back my other foot, you little bastard. The Dune Eaters aren't the only thing to look out for, though. There's a new alchemy system to let you turn boring old flowers into potions, lotions, and bits and bobs to help you keep in motion. There's also system-agnostic rules for land vehicles, and a magic manipulation system for all them nerd wizards. The only fireball I want to make is the kind when I blow up any vehicle driven by those fancy little pansies with the Kai dynasty. Think you're so damn fancy with your fancy little clothes, your fancy little boots, and your fancy little mouths full with a full set of teeth? New rules, biomes, delicious art showing off all my pointy bits, and it's all for any game you want to play. D&D, Daggerheart, Shadow Dark, Morkborg, Twister, whatever you want. And if your greasy little heart has a desire for all things tires, then you can get an all-in metal tier for a signed metal print, but only for the first 500 backers. So you better make like one of the Riders and get in here quick, because that's not a lot. I think the only number I know how to go is fast as miles an hour. And if all that sounds good, then do me a favour, click the referral link in the description down below, because it helps me personally out massively. And that's because the homie and the dude, the people who made the Kickstarter and the Scorched Basin, they really do love the ttrpg community, and as a result, a full 50% of the funds that go towards Kickstarter come back to me if you click my referral link down below. That means that you can rest assured, because all the money that you give towards the Kickstarter will go to the creators and the collaborators who got involved, as opposed to giving it to Google or YouTube or some other marketing agency. The Scorched Basin Kickstarter is live right now and runs all the way over until the 9th of October 2025. So go forth, support the Kickstarter, support me, and grab yourself some unmissable goodies. And now, back to the video. So, I went through and made notes on every official subclass that you can get for D&D 2014. And when I say official books, I mean what's in this book, what's in Xanathar's, what's in a couple of other official D&D books, but if there's something missing, then do let me know, but I've covered quite a lot already in this video. I was going to go through everything, like every finding, every note that I made, but honestly, I think it'd be just better if I did an overview of all the classes and their subclasses, and some honourable mentions that I think are quite interesting. And we're going to start right now. The Artificer, or Artificer.
Artificer.
They make magic items, they craft, and they're one of the most unique classes because of it. And they're not in this book. So because of this, it should be impossible to put their subclasses on other classes. Or so I thought. It turns out that nearly every one of the subclasses basically just gives you another toy to play with on top of the existing class, not connected, really, in any way. For me, playing an Artificer is like getting in touch with my inner child, because I can play with all the toys I used to play with when I was a kid, like robotic dogs, high-grade ballistic armor, guns, and who can forget my favorite, alchemy. The only exception really is the Armorer, who gives you +2 infusions on their armor. So we could put all these subclasses onto other classes. You know, if you want to give a gun to the Ranger. Of all the subclasses, I think the Alchemist actually works the best. You can give some support onto other classes. Like the Traveling Brewer for the Ranger, the Alchemist Wizard, or a Rogue who's really good at alchemy and poisons. Then we transition from the Artificer to the Barbarian, which is like transitioning from a master's degree to alcohol-caused brain damage. And the problem with these subclasses is that they are very, very tied to rage. The only way to really get around this would be to give the subclass like an ability that you can use as a bonus action, and you get a number of uses equal to your proficiency bonus per short rest or something that just gives you the subclass ability without the actual effects of rage in the Barbarian. The ones that will work the best from this improvised idea of a bonus action ability would be the likes of the Beast, the Giant, the Totem, and the Zealot, who just gets an ability from a bonus action like being big or extra damage. Also, the best one for this idea, and also a massive inspiration for this whole video, the Wild Magic Barbarian. Because you could just use a bonus action to roll on the table, and everything else you get is either used as an action or is a buff for the Wild Magic Surge ability. Also, the Storm Herald is pretty cool, but hear me out. A Storm Aura Paladin. Alright, 2 for 2. Now, what about the Bout? I mean, what about the Bard? Nope. A lot of these abilities are tied to Bardic Inspiration, which is a set of dice that scales as you level, rather than just, I turn on my angry. The only exception is the College of Whispers, because they expend a dice to just deal a flat amount of dice, like a sneak attack, which, you know, you can just have a number of charges instead. I was interested in the Cleric because it's a main caster, which means it doesn't have much in the way of main class abilities, but then I realized that all of the subclasses are tied to Channel Divinity. And when I say tied to Channel Divinity, I mean that, yeah, you could just use another thing to give it some charges to use this other ability, but it's so tied into the class of the Cleric that it feels almost sacrilegious. And after the Cleric, I was not excited about the Druid, but all of the subclasses are pretty much fine. The only one that doesn't work is the Moon Druid, because it changes how Wild Shape works as its main thing. Meanwhile, the other subclasses just expend a use of the ability, so you could just have a twice per short rest sort of thing. Some notable inclusions would be the Dreams Artificer, who creates pseudo-fey magic items born from the dreams of the Feywild. Spores could be a gross mutated mushroom-fueled fighter from the Underdark, or a Mycelium Lord Patron for the Warlock. Stars, Astrology Wizard. Wildfire could be an interesting take on the sort of Pyromancer Sorcerer. The Fighter, the boring class, the class without flavour, because the subclass, the thing that you have to take in order to keep playing the character past level 3, is what gives you the flavour, but everyone else just ignores that. And for our purposes here, we're looking for things that don't make references to Action Surge and Second Wind, so that's Banneret and Eldritch Knight off the table. The Arcane Archer, the Battlemaster, and the Rune Knight all basically give you new ways to fight, so this could be put on any of the martial classes and maybe some of the casters. Thinking about it, the Knight and the Battlemaster could be insane for certain classes, like the Paladin. That sounds uber powerful. However, the Arcane Archer on a Paladin could be super interesting in a way to give them a pseudo-Ancients feel, and also give them some bow usage without diving into the murky waters of putting smites on bows. And hey, speaking of Paladins, Cavaliers would be perfect for them. I mean, in the new rules, they lean into this fantasy of being a Paladin who rides a mount, so giving them a subclass to boost this idea could be quite interesting. People think the Champion is boring, but put it on any martial class and they're basically that class plus. Echo Knights could be insane on any class. Clone Wizard, Clone Rogue, Clone Monk, and the Samurai could be some insane flavour for any class. Imagine an Oath of the Retainer Paladin who defends their master until the very end. But enough of that, now let's talk about these absolute mad lads. Mad as in multiple attribute dependent. You know, the Monk and the Paladin. And honestly, for this purpose, they're so hard to work with because of all their weird exclusive resources and auras. And that's not even mentioning the fact that Paladins have an uber transformation at the very end, making it so that these subclasses feel very hard to work with. They can't be reliably transferred. But you know what is reliable? Making fun of the Ranger on YouTube. Yeah, don't you agree? Every D&D YouTube Shorts creator on YouTube. And just to spit in the Ranger's eye just a little bit more, their subclasses are actually really cool. When you think of them on other classes, like the Beastmaster, that could work on any class. I don't know why I'd want to though. But the Drake Warden, Circle of the Lair Druid, anyone? The Gloomstalker Fighter could make for an excellent Dungeoneer adventurer. The Horizon Walker just sniffs out portals and other things, so Portal Wizard, anyone? The Hunters can be great for any martial class, and the Monster Slayer can be perfect for any class. Who doesn't want to be a Monster Slayer in a game about fighting monsters? You could be a monster slaying marshal or a monster researcher. The Swarm Keeper is one of my favourite subclasses across any class, and it would be perfect for a Circle of the Hive Druid, or even just a swarm of Familiars Wizard. What about being a Warrior Beekeeper or a Beetle Knight straight out of Hollow Knight? I thought the Rogue would be great, until I remembered Sneak Attack, aka their most significant feature. The only one that really works is the Mastermind, turning any character into a deceptive and also weirdly supportive master. And maybe the Swashbuckler. I mean, their Rakish Audacity lets them use Sneak Attack in another way rather than adding or changing to it, so maybe? Now we're starting to approach a bit of an issue because the subclasses for these last few classes, they make reference to things like sorcery points and meta magic and one of their spell slots, so these really only work for people who can cast spells. Like all the subclasses in the Sorcerer make reference to sorcery points, except Storm Sorcery, so it wouldn't be best on like a fighter because it makes reference to your spell slots, but you know, Storm Druid, anyone? Also, the Warlock really surprised me because with all these invocations and weird rules, they still work quite well on other classes. The Celestial would be an interesting way to add healing and supportive capabilities onto things like the Ranger and the Rogue. The Fathomless and the Great Old One could be interesting on any class, like a Circle of the Depths Druid, a Chthonic Fighter, or maybe even a Lovecraftian Lore Wizard. If you take the Fiend and put it on a Paladin or a Fighter, you get the Illrigger and put it on a Rogue, and you get a very dark reason why you're so damn lucky. Hexblade, for the guys with blades? Why not? Like, what about the Hexblade Artificer? They have a talking weapon that instructs you to make more like itself, or make a better vessel for it, or you have the ability to imbue weapons with sentience. Undead could go on anything to turn them into a truly grim being, like a pseudo-lich wizard or the Undying Warlock. You won't be missed. And finally we have the Wizard, and despite all the spells and the magic, all of their subclasses have quite detached abilities. They could work really well for other casters, especially those that share a similar level progression. Abjuration requires spell slots but could be a good defense, Blade Singing could work on other classes like the Druid, and really I could go on, but as long as your class has spell slots then they can work. You can make items, better illusions, enchant people, but yeah, overall really good to re-flavor on other classes. So I've covered all of this, but now comes the question, how can we use this? Well, a bunch of the classes like Bard, Barbarian, Cleric, Druid, Wizard, Warlock and Sorcerer have similar levels in which they get their abilities, so you could work around this to swap around these subclasses. As an example, let's make one right now. The College of the Divine Choir. By putting the Zealot onto the Barbarian, at level 3 we can change their Divine Fury into a Divine Chorus. In order to use it, really simple, when you use your Bardic Inspiration, for the next round you deal a d6 plus half your Bardic level in extra radiant or necrotic damage. It could even be equal to the maximum result that you can roll on your Bardic Inspiration die. You know, choose how you like. You also get the same Warrior of the Gods and Fanatical Focus bonus, but you just re-roll saves after using your Bardic Inspiration for the next turn. Even the same Zealous Presence feature could be implemented, but you just use it as a bonus action when you use your Bardic Inspiration, or just a separate bonus action. And when it comes to the Rage Beyond Death ability, what if it was you channeling your focus of your god through your song, and as long as you kept using your Bardic Inspiration at the start of your turn, you could just keep conscious. This turns the Bard into a Herald of the Gods, which we can't do in official D&D, and of course, we didn't really need to change that much to do so, and now we can have a whole party who have abilities based on their faith. We don't have to keep it the same though. What if the people that receive your Bardic Inspiration were the ones that get to deal that extra radiant damage? I mean, hell, what if you could give someone the Bardic Inspiration, and as long as they have that Bardic Inspiration, then they have advantage on death saves, or they are the ones that don't go unconscious as long as they have your Bardic Inspiration. I love this sort of stuff, just turning dials, messing with things, seeing what we can create along the way, but the true intention behind this video is to say this. If you are someone that saw the concept for this video and thought, no, that's bad because it won't work, Don't think inside the box. Think about what you're missing and ignoring because something is right in front of you and you say that it doesn't work. If you are sat there thinking this does not work, then hopefully this means that you can think of creative solutions that would work. For example, the Swarm Keeper on a fighter you might think doesn't work conceptually or mechanically at all. But what if that inspires you to think of soldier ants or beehives fighting in a hive or fighting as a colony? What about a fighter that could create honey-slicked attacks to slow down enemies, or a fighter that can just innately talk to insects? You could give them insectoid flight. What about a fuzzy padding like a bee to pad against attacks? What about bright colours and stripes on fur to ward away enemies? Stingers, that's a pretty good one. And you can implement these ideas that you were inspired by thinking of just Swarm Keeper and Fighter for your own thoughts and creations. All it takes is a new outlook and your creative genius will do the rest. You have the ability to make great things in any medium, so if you're stuck for ideas, look for what might sound weird or even nonsensical to you. Like, I'm aware that you can't just take any subclass and put it on any class because it'd be weird for like mechanics and balance, but also maintaining the themes of the class and the subclass, even though subclasses just add flavour to an existing sort of framework class, but you know what I mean. If you think, no, this wouldn't work, then what would work for you? What has this done to inspire you to think of what could be good? If you want ideas, look at anything and everything, instead of shooting down an idea right at the outset. The amount of times I've seen comments saying, this is bad, this doesn't work, even though they've never played it, they've never even read it. Then, after some time, they go, oh, okay, I get what you mean now. Or they come up with their own ideas for what they think works. Don't be so ready to cut off the potential for something great. Explore it. Give it a chance. You never know where the inspiration for your next great thing will come from. So, hopefully this video has given you some inspiration. Hopefully you'll take away that you should look into things and not just immediately shut it down and look to see what could be hiding behind the strange and the weird and the things that make you think this doesn't work, and see the greatness underneath. There is greatness underneath the weird, especially when it comes to the greatest people we know and love. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like and let me know in the comments down below. And if you didn't like the video, then, oh well, I'll just make a video telling you what you already know, another one on YouTube about D&D's best classes and its builds or whatever. If you'd like to see more like this, like better rewards or new approaches to the same old stuff, then click the video on screen. I love you all, and I'll see you next time.